everybody to another edition of the C3 Beat Check. My name is Cody Lashing, co-host of the C3 Panthers podcast. Tony will be popping in a little bit late. You know, he's being dad, doing some family things. So, you know, I'm here to pick up the slack when needed. And that's exactly what we're doing. And tonight, we are being joined by friend of the podcast. He's been here before, Nick Falato of Big Blue View. Nick, how are you doing, brother?
Cody, thank you for having me. Tony, come on, my fellow Paisan. He's running late. What's going on here?
I know, man. Busy being dad, doing dad stuff. I believe he said his daughter had some activities tonight, so he's running late. He gets a dad pass every once in a while. Like, I guess, you know. But shout out to Tony. He'll be popping in soon, I'm sure. But Nick, man, boy, we have a lot to talk about, man. Here we are again, previewing another Panthers-Giants matchup. And, man, I have so many questions for you, especially considering everything that happened, man. We're talking about the return of Saquon Barkley up there in New York. Brian Daboll is looking good. What is your opening assessment, even though it's only been one game, what is your opening assessment of how you think the Giants looked in their NFL opener?
We can even go prior to the game. The opening assessment of just how Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll have handled this franchise, just in the short amount of time that they've been here, it's night and day from what Joe Judge and Dave Gettleman did for this franchise. And I know a lot of Panthers fans, they have mixed feelings about Dave Gettleman. Maybe it's a consistent feeling, but he's not well beloved up here in New York. And I just feel like the Giants are now on the right path with progressive-minded offensive coaches in Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll. And I think they can maximize the personnel that the New York Giants have. Players like Daniel Jones, who I don't think will be a long-term solution here in New York. Players like that. I think you can get the most out of players like that now that you have a competent coaching staff, a more progressive coaching staff that is open to things like analytics and not so Joe Judgian, I guess. And Joe Judge, I think he can be a good coach. He just needs to kind of kick the conservative nature. But in terms of week one, you got to love going for two in that situation. So for those who don't know, the Giants drove down the field with minutes left on the clock. And they scored a touchdown off of a play fake because by this point, the Titans were selling out to stop Saquon Barkley off of a play fake touchdown pass to one of the tight ends, Chris Myrick. And then Brian Daboll went for two, and Mike Kafka dialed up the Andy Reid pitch pass that they do to Travis Kelce, and they actually scored a touchdown with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the same pass in week one, the Kansas City Chiefs, that is. So I love the fact that Brian Daboll trusts his players enough. He lives by what he says, and he's setting a foundation, a culture here in New York that players are loving, that the fans are absolutely loving. Even if they didn't win that football game, the fact that they were able to go in to Tennessee and shut down King Henry like that. Like I said, for any Game of Thrones fan, honestly, Tay Crowder, I don't know if you saw that hit on King Henry that Tay Crowder laid, laying that foundation, man. You should start calling him Jamie Lannister, okay? Because he murdered. He took him out. But yeah, no, it's exciting right now, but it's only one game, and I think that's the approach because there's a lot of holes still with the New York Giants, and there's still a lot of question marks. But God, not with Brian Daboll, not with this coaching staff. It was about the best week one you can have, Cody.
Man, you're speaking my language here. I'm a big time Game of Thrones fan, and I that is a good comparison, calling him the Kingslayer. That Giants team, they really do seem to love Daboll. I mean, he's very highly touted coming from that Bills offense and everything he was able to do with Josh Allen. And I saw the clip online. Daboll, he shakes the hand of Mike Vrabel, and then it goes and he starts going crazy with his team. It really does seem like, you know, he has this Giants team believing that they can do something special. What do you attribute, maybe Daboll's influence on the return of Saquon Barkley? Saquon Barkley goes off in what was essentially a polar opposite case of Christian McCaffrey against the Browns. We're wondering, why didn't we feed CMC more? And really those two are kind of, they're similar in a lot of ways. They were drafted, had these incredible seasons where everyone talked about them as the future at that position. But then they've both been kind of plagued by injuries ever since then. And fans of both of our teams have been wondering if these two guys are ever going to return to their previous form. Saquon seems to have done that. But what did it go for? Like 163 yards or something like that against the Titans? What do you attribute that spark to?
So first, Saquon Barkley had a great camp, and he's 1 year removed from a torn ACL. Typically, running backs do a lot better in those situations after you have a year. I also think the additions along the offensive line helped that. I think Mike Kafka's play calling helped that, because I think the way Mike Kafka sequenced a lot of plays, he would show jet sweep, show jet sweep, show jet sweep, run jet sweep, catch the defense completely off guard. He is showing certain looks to the defense to force them to think one thing, and then later in the game, he shows that same look and then runs something different off of it. And I felt like it kind of just forced a little bit of hesitation for the Tennessee Titans. But as for Saquon Barkley, I love the fact that they were running a lot of double puller, a lot of counter, a lot of things like that, a lot of power gap, pin pull type of concepts. And I just think Saquon Barkley is back right now. I think the healthy portion, like him being healthy, is huge for his game. But his ability right now, in terms of running low to the ground, running behind his pads, finding the hole, his decisiveness in the backfield, reading blocks, allowing blocks to set up. Those were all things I always kind of questioned about Saquon Barkley outside of what we saw from his 2018 season. And he showed that. Now, small sample size, it's only week 1, but this is against a Tennessee Titans defense that might not be as strong as they were last year, but they were the number 1 ranked defense in terms of yards allowed last season. That's a pretty good run defense. You're a 5.5-point dog on the road. So I find all those things impressive. I do believe Saquon Barkley is back. He needs to stay healthy. I think he's going to be the focal point of this offense, and in the passing attack and as a rushing and in the run game, because you have an offensive line now that is improved. And I feel like the guys up front, they're better run blockers than they are pass blockers at the moment. And I think they did a really good job owning the point of attack against the Tennessee Titans. So we'll have to wait and see. You got to take it a game at a time, but man, he looked explosive. He looked good.
Yeah, and you have 2 first-round talents at both of those tackle positions in back-to-back years, right? So that seems to be it. It seemed, at least to me on film, that Saquon had a lot of success bouncing to the outsides, not necessarily going to the interior, but kind of doing some yards after contact stuff and getting to the outside and really stretching that defense from sideline to sideline. And that's frankly what worries me, because the Panthers defense has still been struggling to stop this run. I'm hoping that we don't see something similar. Go ahead.
Yeah, Cody. So I was going to ask you. I know you guys run out like a lot of different fronts. Phil Snow typically
Yeah.
does, right? So like Tennessee and Shane Bowen, he's a good defensive coordinator, but he aligned a lot with essentially like a 2-eye or a 1 technique to the backside with a 3 technique or a 4-eye to the front side. Basically 2 defensive linemen, which set up the Giants and Mike Kafka perfectly to just run those pin pull concepts. I don't think Phil Snow is going to make that mistake. So I'm really curious to see how he views Mike Kafka's game plan and how much power gap he used and how he's going to attack it and defend the rushing attack of Saquon Barkley. So if you're playing the New York Giants, there's a way to stop it. Stop the run and force Daniel Jones to beat you. And I'm wondering how Phil Snow is going to do that.
Yeah, and ostensibly, that's what we should have done against the Browns. It seems like it's the same thing. You stop Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and then force them to throw the ball. It seems as though common knowledge that would be what you would want to do with the Giants as well. I think one of the things that we're still wondering about Phil Snow is how much adaptability he has. A lot of Panther fans have been very reticent to give him praise in recent weeks, and especially at the end of last season, is he runs a lot of that college 3-3-5, where there's sometimes 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs. Now lately we've been going a lot more towards nickel, and so we do kind of have like 4 men on the line here lately. But the defensive line is something that we've been wondering about a lot. We lost Hassan Reddick to your division rival, the Philadelphia Eagles, and that we're wondering how much that hurt us, honestly, because there's a lot of unproven talent, a lot of potential, a lot of really high end potential, I would even dare to say, but just not a lot of proven guys on this defensive line outside of Brian Burns. So if we're able to get some kind of pressure on Daniel Jones and allow our linebackers to play fast, I'm hoping that we have a bounce back performance, because last year stopping the run was such a problem, and it seems to continue to be a problem on that front. Do you feel like your interior offensive line is built to run power, or do you kind of need Saquon to kind of work the edges a little more to be effective?
So the left guard position is a little bit of a question mark. The Giants rotated Ben Bredesen and rookie out of UNC. Some of the listeners might be familiar of him, Joshua Zudu, in and out there because Shane Lemieux is on the IR. So I think they can run A gap depending on the run A gap, B gap, depending on the front. I just think they had a lot of success against Tennessee hitting outside and it wasn't stopped. But if you watch the first couple drives of the Giants offense, they couldn't slow down the penetrating nature of the Tennessee Titans, who were just shooting gaps and getting upfield. And the only way they did was by running outside, slowing everything down, slowing that pass rush and just the aggressiveness of Shane Bowen's unit down. So I remember Phil Snow from last year. You guys are definitely more privy to his tendencies, but I remember when doing my film study before the Giant game, he was similar. He was very aggressive with how he shot gaps and how he brought pressure off the edge and stuff like that. Is that accurate, or am I missing something there?
No, I would say that that's about accurate. And again, I feel like this year, especially with the talent that we have on at our defensive back position, we're really going to kind of be reticent on that speed to blitz some of those nickel safety blitzes to kind of get pressure when maybe our defensive line might need to pick up the pace a little bit. Tony joining us. Tony, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Holy cow, man. So sorry. Good gosh. Crashing into the party. How you guys doing?
Hey,
Doing
Tom.
good, doing good.
Good to see you, bro.
What's up, Paisan?
Hey, I brought that up before too, man.
Yeah. So I have one more question, and then I'll let Tony jump in on this. Flipping to the other side of the ball now, looking at that Giants defense, what do you think the strength of your defense is at this time? Because right now you have Matt Rule of the Carolina Panthers really doubling down on the fact that in order to win the Super Bowl, you have to be a team that can throw the football. And with Ben McAdoo, someone who I'm sure you know very well, Ben McAdoo likes to throw the football. He likes to air it out. Me and Tony have even been disagreeing on this. I think the Carolina Panthers are not truly built to be a pass first offense with Baker Mayfield and with our unproven offensive line. And I feel that we should run the ball more. And it's not even necessarily that Tony disagrees with me, but the coaches clearly think that we need to be throwing the football at a relatively high clip. Do you think the Giants defense, as of how it is right now, is built to capitalize on the Panthers trying to air out the football?
I think the attack of Ben McAdoo should focus on Christian McCaffrey, whether that's through the air or on the ground. But if you look at the Giants defense right now, they're down their 3 edge rushers with Ellerson Smith, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Azeez Ojulari. They're probably not going to play. Ellerson Smith's on IR. And then you have Aaron Robinson, who this morning had an appendectomy. So he's out, and he was a starting cornerback. So you have really one, I would say, pretty damn good cornerback in Adoree Jackson, who's probably going to be on DJ Moore a lot. But other than that, I don't even know right now. And the Giants probably don't even know right now who the heck is starting opposite of Adoree Jackson. That's going to be a huge issue that they should exploit. In terms of running the ball, I would say that's the Giants' strength. At least against the Tennessee Titans, the Giants rolled out 5-man fronts, tight fronts. So you have a nose tackle, and then you have a 4 technique and a 4 technique with 2 edge rushers on the side. And they have a guy named Jahad Ward, who's been around the league a little bit. You align Jahad Ward. He's a 290-pound edge to the strong side to kind of eliminate that tight end's ability to one-on-one block him, which takes away a lot of flexibility from the offense and what they want to do. So running the football against the New York Giants, as Tennessee found out, it's pretty damn difficult with Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, Justin Ellis, who's more of a nose tackle, and just the rotation that the Giants have. But the linebackers are pretty inexperienced. The Giants just cut Blake Martinez before the season because it was mutual and everything. Blake Martinez probably go and play for another team. They have Tay Crowder, Austin Calitro, who I called Mr. Worldwide because he's been on 11 different teams and he looks like Pitbull. And then you have Micah McFadden, a 5th-round rookie. Now, they played well. They were very aggressive, coming downhill, taking away pullers. I loved how they played, but still, they're young and inexperienced, and this is Christian McCaffrey, totally different animal than Derrick Henry. And another thing, too, the way Todd Downing attacked the New York Giants and had success was isolating Hilliard, backup running back, against the Giants linebackers and taking advantage of match type of principles. 2 of their touchdowns for the Titans, 2 of the passing touchdowns for Ryan Tannehill was Hilliard isolated against Austin Calitro, linebacker, and Hilliard isolated against Tay Crowder in the flat wheel to the field. Both of those went for scores. Now, no one thought Dontrell Hilliard was going to be a big part of the game plan, but it's obvious that they circled Todd Downing, that is the offensive coordinator of the Titans. They circled those linebackers and said, we're going to attack them. Now, you guys have one of the best receiving backs in recent memory. So that has to be a big part of your guys' game plan if you want to take advantage of the New York Giants defense. And I imagine that's going to be.
My question is, and I'm forgive me if you guys have covered any of this ground, your thoughts on Evan Neal's performance so far?
Yeah, I thought Evan Neal played well. I mean, he's going to slide off blocks. He's going to have his balance issues in terms of not bringing his feet along with him in the point of contact. And he's so big and so much bigger than everybody. Sometimes he leans and he can get off balance and find his way onto the field. But the guy is patient. He's disciplined in pass protection, and he's damn strong, dude. I put a couple clips on Twitter of him just toying with dudes, it looks like, just tossing them onto the ground. But I still think there's going to be lumps. And if you put him against Brian Burns, Brian Burns can win that matchup. But the one thing I will say, and it's freaky with Evan Neal is very athletic, right? For a guy of his size. He's like 350 pounds, man. And he has some pretty good hips and some good footwork too for a guy that big. And he's very long because he lost high side a couple different times against Tennessee, but he was able to just flip his hips, recover, and just push that edge rusher up the pass rushing arc, allowing Daniel Jones to step up into the pocket. But Brian Burns is quick. So do you think they're going to try to isolate Burns against Evan Neal? Because that is a matchup that I'm a little hesitant going into this game.
I think it's our best bet. I don't know about Tony. I think Brian Burns is looking to be opportunistic against a young rookie like Evan Neal. But
well, he's hoping so. Did you? I know you guys are excited to win opening day, new coach, but it really wasn't pretty for the Giants early in that game.
Nope.
I mean, in that first half, I mean, is Tennessee's up. Daniel Jones still looks so bad. What do you think is really, what's the story of with this offense? Is this offense is Daniel Jones, can he get it done? Or is he the guy that's holding it back?
That's the big question mark. The story of the offense, and we mentioned this a little bit before you got on here, Tony, is get the ball to Saquon Barkley. Because the New York Giants wide receiver situation right now, it's just weird. I don't really know how else to quantify it. Because Sterling Shepard, he catches that long bomb. He's that wily veteran. He's back off of an Achilles that he tore not that long ago. So, credit to him to get back. And then you're paying $72 million to Kenny Golladay, and he's toasted. As Jordan Ronan said, he's running routes like a freaking mannequin out there. He just doesn't have the separation ability. Wan'Dale Robinson got hurt. I'm not 100% certain if he's going to play, but he's very interesting, very smart type of receiver. And then Kadarius Toney, all the talent in the world. Dude played 7 snaps, man. And the usage for Kadarius Toney, other than the design plays that were to him, which was a orbit motion double pass that he smartly tucked and just ran and picked up yardage, and then a jet sweep, the usage were just drag routes on those other 7 plays. Drag routes and then a play action slide. So he's not running routes vertically downfield. So there's something going on with Kadarius Toney as well. I hope he can get on the football field. But in terms of your question, Tony, Daniel Jones, that is the big question for the New York Giants. Can he put a team on his back and lead them to victory? Because if you watch that final drive, it was all Saquon Barkley in the run blocking. And then Daniel Jones did a good job on an RPO. I felt like the interception that he threw, I'm not certain if that was a choice route or not by Saquon Barkley, and Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones just maybe weren't on the same page. And then Daniel Jones panicked and made a very, very dumb decision that's on Daniel Jones. But that's what you get with Daniel Jones sometimes. He makes mistakes. So if the Panthers want to defeat the New York Giants, they need to put pressure on Daniel Jones, get his feet all happy in the pocket, hit him a couple times, and then just try to remove Saquon Barkley from the game. And I think Saquon Barkley is going to be another big, big part of this game plan against y'all.
Nick, what is it about Daniel Jones that just didn't pan out? I mean, you guys have had some different coaches, and there have been some different ups and downs for him along the way. But what has led to this point? What makes you believe that Daniel Jones isn't going to be the guy of the future going forward? Because that is something you said earlier. And is it an accuracy thing? Like with Sam Darnold, he always just seemed to be scared and would throw interceptions at the worst possible moments, even when there was no pressure in his face. Do you think that maybe Daniel Jones just never got that taste for playing NFL football at a high level?
I think so I saw the comment, Daniel Jones is worse than Sam Darnold. I disagree. I think Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. Daniel Jones is a tough SOB. He's going to stand into the pocket. He's going to take the hits. I think he has average arm talent. I don't think his arm talent is anything special. And you look around the NFL right now with Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, all these guys, Josh Allen, they can just launch the football. I think that's going to cap your upside as a quarterback. And in order to overcompensate that, you have to be very crisp and very good with your pre to post snap processing. And that is something that Daniel Jones has struggled with. If he thinks something pre-snap and then it's not the look that the defense gives him, he panics sometimes. Sometimes he just doesn't take what's there. He tries to make a play, and there's some merit to that. But a lot of the times it's not the play to make, and it's just putting the ball into a precarious position and being careless with the football. So I think just from a mental standpoint, Daniel Jones isn't quite where you need him to be to feel comfortable giving him a contract going forward. With his rookie contract and didn't pick up the 5th-year option, I don't think he'll be back. The only way he's back is if he has this incredible season. And even then, I think they give him like a Mitch Trubisky deal that they can get out of year one because he hasn't shown enough. And I will give him credit. The Giants completely screwed the kid up. The owner, John Mara, said so, and I do agree. The offensive line has been horrendous. You gave him Jason freaking Garrett as his offensive coordinator. You didn't really give him any weapons. He has not had the best surrounding cast. But even so, if Justin Herbert was in that situation, he would find a way, or at least you would see the little kernels of talent that make you say, this guy has the potential to be a top 5 quarterback. Daniel Jones doesn't have that. He just doesn't. It's unfortunate. I love the kid. I love his work ethic, but his ceiling in this league, is like a top 15, maybe like at 15 quarterback. That's his ceiling. I don't think he has the ceiling to ever be one of those true difference makers.
My question, I know you got to get at. I told Nick I was going to not keep him too long, and then I was late.
We're good for a little bit. We're good for a little bit.
Okay. Thank you. Have you heard about this CBS sports reporter, this Giant sports reporter who cried?
No, I have not.
Oh, gosh. About Panther Pickle, I was listening to WFNZ. His name is Manza. I couldn't catch his name. I was hoping you would be able to know who it was, but he supposedly cried over a Rangers trade once about a player who got traded. And my man cried because you guys finally won week 1, and it had been so long. I thought this was awesome. How... And I'm going to segue this to Giants fans. How was it relieving to get a win in week 1? What did that mean? New coach. Is there excitement brewing? Is there a kind of nervousness to not get excited? What's the feeling about this team right now?
I think it was refreshing. And I also think the New York Giants right now, they're playing with house money. Nobody had expectations of the New York Giants. Everybody is aware of the horrendous cap situation that they're in right now. So you bring in a new GM, a new coach, and you have 2 of the faces of your franchise on expiring contracts right now with Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. The franchise is in flux. This is a rebuilding year. So any win is like, holy crap. But the fact that they won week 1, and then you look at their schedule, right? They play Carolina. Carolina is not a great football team. They play the AFC South. AFC South, not great football teams there other than the Colts, I guess you could say. And they just defeated the Titans, who was the number 1 seed in the AFC. And then you play the NFC North with the Bears and the Lions, 2 teams that are beatable, but I wouldn't say they're just easy chalk up wins. You're looking at them though, and you're saying that you could possibly win those football games. I think the Giants played like 6 teams that were picking in the top 10 last year. So obviously those teams are looking at the Giants saying, oh, we can win that football game, but it just means that they're not playing the Chargers and the Chiefs like they did last season. Their schedule is significantly easier. And now you have Dak Prescott, who's going to be out for a bunch of weeks, and the Giants play him Monday Night Football week 3. So you look at all those things and you say, look, I don't have delusions of grandeur. I don't think the New York Giants are going to win the Super Bowl or anything like that. But I don't think the 7th wild card spot is too crazy just given their schedule. I don't think the Giants are a very talented team. I think they have holes all along the roster. I don't really believe in the quarterback, but if the ball bounces right for them in a certain manner, it's plausible, or at least it's possible, that they could squeak into the playoffs and then probably get blown out by somebody.
You're on mute.
Yep, I am. Pardon me. How do you think your defensive backs are going to match up with Baker Mayfield? Because to be honest, even us Panther fans are still wondering who he is. A lot of us are deeply divided on whether or not he is the answer at quarterback. It seems like every year the Panthers have a new quarterback. So we're evaluating Baker Mayfield. And with Baker, it was really the tale of two halves. The first and second quarter was abysmal. A lot of batted passes at the line of scrimmage. A lot of just missing some open players. He threw a bad interception. But then, man, sometime in the third quarter, Baker was able to pick it up and kind of get into a rhythm. So while we're still wondering about Baker Mayfield, what do you think the Giants, how do you think they intend to attack him? Do you think that they want to just make air out the football and try and pick him off? And are the Giants equipped to be able to do that, you think, this year?
I don't know what's funny, too. Baker Mayfield has a lot of experience playing Wink Martindale defenses, right, in the AFC North together. And Baker Mayfield's stats, I have them actually in front of me right here. Against Wink Martindale's defenses on the whole, he averaged 278 passing yards. I mean, he threw for 342, 376, 342, 343. That's 4 games right there where he did pretty well against Wink Martindale. Now, obviously, two different systems. He had 13 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and was sacked 14 times. I think you look at what the Giants did against Tennessee. I think you see Ryan Tannehill. I think Wink Martindale had a lot of respect for Ryan Tannehill. Now, they blitzed the Giants 50% of the times, but they were all basically simulated pressures. I think he only brought more than 4 guys 11 times in that game. I'm wondering, and it's weird because I'm wondering if he's going to put more pressure on Baker Mayfield in his second game in Ben McAdoo's offense, or if he's going to play a little bit more conservative now that Aaron Robinson, like I brought up, is out. Because in order to bring the blitz, you need to have the cornerbacks to play man coverage. And I don't even know who the second cornerback on the outside is right now. We have no idea. It could be Foster Moreau, who's on their practice squad. It could be Justin Lane, who they picked up off the scrap heap from the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not a great situation. So you guys could exploit that. Now, I will say this. I'm imagining the Giants will probably be in some sort of quarter sometimes, some sort of too high to remove that explosive play if they are beat and burnt a couple different times. They have Xavier McKinney. Xavier McKinney, maybe not a lot of people know who he is. He can be, he's not yet, but he can be a top 5 safety in this league. I think that's within his range of outcomes. Last year was his first kind of real year playing because he broke his foot in training camp back in his first season, and he only played down the tail end of the season. But Xavier McKinney is a ball hawk. He's physical. He's going to be coming on the blitz. He's going to be aligning all over the field. So he's a name that Panthers fans should be aware of. Other than him, you're going to have Julian Love, another very versatile Swiss Army knife who can handle a lot of different responsibilities, and he may even play outside at cornerback. That's something that the Giants' previous defensive coordinators have leveraged in the past, because that's what he did back in Notre Dame. So it's a little bit in flux right now. We're not 100% certain what we're going to see from the secondary, but I think that is a way that you can attack this team. But you have to incorporate Christian McCaffrey and get him isolated against those giant linebackers.
Have you looked at any of the lines on like the kind of the numbers for what people are looking at in this game? Is right now the Giants are favored by 2.5. Makes sense, right? The Panthers had a tough game. We're sponsored. Our podcast is sponsored by PrizePicks, which is daily fantasy sports. And what's really neat about this is it's like you pick over, under, kind of, or more or less on certain numbers. And like Christian McCaffrey, for instance, I think the number what we have him at, Cody, it was 55.5 yards rushing.
Yeah,
is where they put him at.
yards rushing. They got Saquon at 70.5.
Yeah, and so like these numbers right here, we've been kind of using this in our show as a means of kind of like just kind of assessing matchups and looking into some different things. Christian McCaffrey, his number against the Browns was 65, but because they didn't utilize him, they had a poor day, this has gone down. I almost feel like there's a lot of value for Christian McCaffrey here as a makeup game. Right, is like if Ben McAdoo doesn't recognize what he's got here and doesn't run the ball a little, then it just seems like it would be foolish. Do you think, what do you think about Saquon and that 70 number and Christian McCaffrey and that 55 rushing number? Is there is there value? I think there's value with that Christian McCaffrey. I mean, is this just feed Saquon time?
Yeah, I think Saquon's going to have every opportunity to get to 70. But as you saw in a lot of the clips from week one, a lot of those were just big runs that he accumulated. And it's not like he was getting stopped in the backfield a lot. He was definitely more decisive at getting north and south, being a one-cut runner, putting his foot in the ground and then exploding. And you see that burst through the hole, man. It's very impressive. So I think he can, at home, favored, get to 70. I think that's reasonable. The Carolina Panthers, I don't know much about your guys' run defense. I don't know much about your guys.
It stinks. It stinks.
What happened to Derek Brown?
Man, that's a great question, Nick. We've been wondering the same
Is he a bust or not?
And now all the clips are floating around on Twitter of the All-22 film of him just being bullied. I'm talking about put into the dirt. I'm talking I've been a somewhat of a defender of Derek Brown because I kind of think he was overdrafted. You shouldn't draft a run-stuffing defensive tackle in the top 10, in my opinion. You just shouldn't. And so I kind of felt like everyone was already expecting him to put up like crazy pass rushing numbers, and that was never going to be the case. But now, even on the run-stuffing front, I find Derek Brown wanting in a lot of ways, and this is through last year. Well, it's been an issue.
Think about it like this, or at least for us, the way we looked at it after week one is we knew who the Cleveland Browns were. They had Jacoby Brissett. We had their quarterback. I mean, damn it. And we had they were down a quarterback. They go and they get Jacoby Brissett. We know it's gonna funnel through Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. If it didn't, it would be weird. And they still put up 217 yards rushing. And the idea is it's like we just didn't do what I thought we should do, which is like do what Bill Belichick would do, and that is take away the one thing you're good at. You know what I'm saying? It's just sell out and take away that run and make Jacoby Brissett beat us. We didn't do that, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because we don't have the personnel to do it. We missed 17 tackles at some point that we were there on tackles. So we got muscle. It's like a combination of not being good at stopping the run, being a little light in the pants, as like our team is not very heavy up front. And 3, maybe, I guess we just don't think it's as important or it's bad game planning. So for me, it's just kind of like this is like, we know that it's going to go through Saquon, and are we not going to be able to stop it? So that 70 number, man, it's just tempting for me to just take the over on that too.
It is. And another thing to monitor, if Phil Snow sells out and keeps selling out to stop Saquon Barkley, he's going to get burnt by some kind of crafty, well-timed play action pass by Daniel Jones. Because there was at least 2 or 3 times in that game where Tennessee just sold out and they thought it was going to Saquon and Daniel Jones just tucking on a bootleg or just hit Chris Myrick in the end zone, little things like that. I felt like Kafka's feel for how to call plays was pretty excellent. But my man, New York Giant Mason, asked a question, and we could just be brief on this. What is your guys' interior pass rush like? Because Jeffrey Simmons destroyed the interior part of the New York Giants offensive line.
Well, we don't know. We don't know. Is that right now it's supposed to be that Matt Ioannidis?
Yeah, Matt Ioannidis and Derek Brown are the marquee names at the moment. But sometimes they'll put Euturgos Matos at 3 tech as well. It was like I was saying earlier, none of these guys are really big-time proven names. Guys with a lot of potential, but it's potential unrealized.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm wondering, though, too, because the Giants didn't really want to run directly at Jeffrey Simmons, and they were using the aggressiveness against him, like I said a little earlier with the power gap. I'm wondering if they can own the point of attack, because John Feliciano is a pretty good run blocker. Joshua Zudu, he showed some run blocking chops as well. Mark Lewinsky is a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. The Giants might be able to run more duo and then hit that A-B gap, possibly have some success there to really keep the Panthers defense honest. So I'm curious about what you guys can do to stop Saquon Barkley. It doesn't sound very optimistic.
No, I
Go ahead,
mean,
Tony.
like, is that we should be able to. And what I mean by that is, like, that's what you have to do. And I would say this is I know that you're right. Like, I would say make Daniel Jones beat us in that way. It's just make him do it. It might happen, but we've invested a lot in our secondary. Maybe it's not just financially, but look, we went and put out a top 10 pick in JC Horn, suffered an injury in his rookie year. But for everybody, at least Panther fans, there's a group of people that are already ready to put him in the Hall of Fame for some reason. The other thing is this: we go and trade for CJ Henderson. Again, another guy, a lot of talent, a lot of athleticism, really hasn't proven in the NFL, but it seems like there's a lot of potential there. Then we paid Dante Jackson speed, 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 and has actually played better and better throughout his career. Undersized guy, but man, a ball hawk and different things. And we got Jeremy Chin, who is just like probably the best player on the team in some ways. I feel like this is like make them beat us that way. If you beat us that way and that happens, then I feel okay. But I just hate the idea of like we know you're going to run it and you still just do it.
There's going to be a lot of options built into what the Giants offense does too, which keeps the defense honest. There's a lot of RPOs in this offense. There are a lot of zone reads. So anytime that backsuit defender cuts down, Daniel Jones keeps it and he picks up a couple yards. So that's just another little threat, Daniel Jones's athletic ability in terms of just picking up the little bit of yards here and also eliminating a defender by making him a read defender. So now he can't get Saquon Barkley. So you guys are one more less in the box. I feel like utilizing the athletic ability of Daniel Jones and also with the RPO game, just building options into Daniel Jones. And I feel like, I know I criticized Daniel Jones's mental processing before, and I think rightfully so, but he does a good job making decisions based on the RPO. It's something he did back when he was with David Cutcliffe at Duke, and he did it pretty well in college. And I feel like Mike Kafka has leveraged that well throughout the preseason and then a little bit last week.
I feel like I'm a little surprised in a way that's actually making me unnerving to me now, is that you're not a little bit more hard on Daniel Jones because I mean, I know he's had some bad instances or like he's bad circumstances, but sometimes he just makes these. And maybe I'm just watching the wrong clips. Maybe that's what it is. But sometimes it's just like he throws the ball and it's like in the stands or in the dirt.
Tony, I think you came in after I railed against Daniel Jones for about 3 minutes.
Okay. He's like, all right. He's like, now I got to walk this back and teeter the other way.
He did do that.
All right. You guys miss. Go ahead, Cody.
No, I was going to say, to be fair, Panthers defenses, we have a way of making every quarterback look like Patrick Mahomes in some way, shape, or form. So it wouldn't surprise me if he did have a big game. I'll tell you one of the things that you were talking about, the interior pass rush. For us, I got to be real. I'm kind of worried of the Giants' interior pass rush. So I'm a Clemson fan. Dexter Lawrence was a big part of that 2018 championship team for the Tigers. So I love me some Dexter Lawrence, but I also know that he is a monster of a man. And one of the big controversies that the Panthers have right now is that in the offseason, we signed Bradley Bozeman, the center for the Baltimore Ravens, to come be center for us. Fans have been really excited about him. And Matt Rule, even during training camp, was saying that Bradley Bozeman was going to be our center. He ends up getting like a shin injury, and then they go with Pat Elflein over Bradley Bozeman, and they continue to roll with Pat Elflein as our starting center, even though Bradley Bozeman is healthy and ready to go. And it's leaving us fans wondering, like, well, what did you sign this dude for? Especially when your offensive line was so atrocious last year, and you're not going to take every opportunity to upgrade the line. It's just infuriating with Matt Rule. But do you feel like you should have a market advantage on the interior in the trenches, given what the Panthers have been able to put on film, not only this week against the Browns, but even at the end of last year as well?
I'm sorry, guys. I read New York Giant Mason, my guy. I read his comment, and it's pretty hilarious. Oh my God, poor Daniel Jones over here, Mason, taking straight. Yeah, no, honestly, I would be a little concerned about the New York Giants up front in terms of running the rock. And it doesn't seem like Med McAdoo, from the little bit of film I watched, you guys didn't really run up the middle a lot. You guys were attacking laterally.
We didn't run at all.
Yeah. It's a little it's hard with Dexter Lawrence, man. I think Dexter Lawrence is very underrated. A lot of Giant fans seem to not love him because he doesn't have as much pass production, a lot of sacks. I feel like he still pressures the quarterback. He gets there, but he doesn't finish the play. But if you just look at some of his advanced metrics and watch the film, he is such an underrated player on this team. He made a tackle to open the second half. Giants down 13-0, right? The Titans run the ball with Derrick Henry 7 yards. They go to run the football with Derrick Henry again, and Dexter Lawrence makes a play from one side. This 345-pound dude, one side of the field, all the way to the other, down the line of scrimmage, stretches Derrick Henry towards the sideline, and then makes a tackle on him to force a 3rd and short that the Giants stop. If he doesn't make that play right there, that individual effort from Dexter Lawrence, I think the Giants lose that football game. Like, he makes little plays like that just go unsung. And then you have Lenny Williams, too. He's another very good run defender. Wish he was, he can rush the passer. And I think once Thibodeau and Aziz come back, maybe they'll be a little bit more potent. But in terms of run defense, man, he's very solid. And I think they can exploit whatever you guys roll out there in the interior part of the offensive line. And I got to ask, too, before we get out of here as well, how is Ike Ekwonu? I'm going to watch his film soon just to see what he looked like.
You want me to go first, Tony? Or you want to say? So, I think Ike Ekwonu is going to be a very good player. I do think that playing the left tackle position, he has had a lot of road bumps along the way. A lot of it is because North Carolina State, they didn't necessarily ask him to do a lot of true pass sets. So he's really, having to really ingratiate himself to playing left tackle at an NFL level. I was a big proponent of playing Ike at left guard instead of left tackle. That way you can use him for his strengths, let him be mean and aggressive and physical at the point of attack. And the year before, we drafted a guy by the name of Brady Christensen, the BYU left tackle. And he barely got an opportunity at left tackle last year. But when he did, he looked good. And now they slided him at left guard. And I'm a firm believer that I think Brady Christensen should be our left tackle instead of Ike Ekwonu. I think that he's a little bit more athletic at the position. And I think that we should run the ball behind Ike. But just as a pure left tackle, look, when you're playing Myles Garrett, you're going to have some roadblocks, okay? You're going to get bullied. You're going to get pushed around. And he had some of those moments. But at the same time, it was his rookie debut, and it wasn't all bad. Whenever he does put his foot in the dirt and just push forward, as a run blocker, he's a man amongst boys. He has that natural freakazoid strength. And we're optimistic about his future, but it's been rough to start out, to say the least.
Yeah, and to kind of clarify on Cody's position, he's never advocated for Ike to be a permanent left guard, but that being a way of integrating him in the lineup in the initial phases and then working him over to the left side. I think this is, look, right now we're eating our own, man. We are eating our own. Everybody is the Panther fans were on an 8-game losing streak going back to last year. We haven't, you come out with a little bit of optimism thinking, man, we're going to win against the Browns at home. And they didn't. They almost did. And I'm telling you, man, people are turning on everybody. They are turning on J.C. Horn for missing plays. They are turning. Look, Ekwonu gave up 2 sacks in this game. One was, some people would say, look, even the coach defended on him as like the tight end was supposed to chip. He barely chipped. And, look, he's a rookie. I think this left tackle rookies, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I really believe this, is that Rashawn Slater is the only one that I know of who had success in his first season. If you go back to the top talents, I'm talking guys that go number 1 overall, or they say are top 5 talents. They have some struggles in the NFL game in their first year. And it's a tough position to look at or to adjust to. So I think this is Ekwonu. I think he's going to be just fine. But he is a rookie. And with rookie offensive tackles, man, you're kind of on that island a little bit, and it shows when you're struggling against good talents. It shows more than if you were at guard.
Yeah,
you know?
defensive coordinators, they scheme to get you on that island too a lot of the
Yeah.
times. And offenses can't always run a running back chip. They can't always put a tight end on your side. So it kind of really forces you to step up. It's kind of baptism by fire, if you will. Andrew Thomas, I think he has the potential to be a top 5 tackle. He has looked phenomenal since his rookie season, but his rookie season, he was terrible, especially the first half of his rookie season. So, the development, man, it takes a little bit of time. And Andrew Thomas, I'm curious to see if Brian Burns gets matched up with him because he looked good again. And I really do believe Andrew Thomas has the potential to be a top 5 tackle. He's not
What
quite
year
there
is he
yet.
in? Is this his 3rd year?
Yeah, 2020 was when he was drafted, 4th overall,
See?
first tackle in
And
that
this
draft.
is when they step in. That's when like you said, that first year. I mean, you're talking about a top talent. What was he ranked that year, Andrew Thomas? Not like ranked overall in the draft, but was like he like kind of the number 1 tackle in that class?
Well, that was a pretty unique class because they had 4 tackles and there was not really a clear consensus on who the number 1 was. It was Tristan Wirfs, Mekhi Becton, Andrew Thomas, and then Jedrick Wills, who was on the Browns.
Wow. Yeah, that was a good one.
And Wirfs plays right tackle. And Wirfs, I would say, has had the best career so far. But you got Andrew Thomas on the left side. And I feel like Wirfs and Andrew Thomas have kind of risen well above Jedrick Wills from what I've seen, and then Mekhi Becton just can't stay healthy, which is unfortunate. I think Jedrick is a good football player from everything that I know about the Browns, which isn't really that much. But Andrew Thomas, man, is I think he's going to be a name people will start to recognize as the years come. And now that I say that in front of a bunch of Panthers fans, I'm sure Brian Burns will beat him for a sack, and I'll look like an idiot.
Man, just my final question to you is this. This is kind of some context. Is last year, the Carolina Panthers go to New York, 2 bad teams facing each other, and the Carolina Panthers play one of the worst games in team history. I've taken some flat. I argue this is a top 5 worst performance in Carolina's history. Under 177 total yards. It was just a stinker for us. Somehow it was like nobody should have won this game, and the Panthers were far from even being in a conversation of winning it. This year, we go back to New York again. If the Giants win this game, what does it mean for you guys as a team? I think you dipped your toe a little bit on this earlier about all of a sudden you looking around this wild card spot, but starting off 2-0. What would that mean if you guys win this game? Because we really feel like this is the Panthers, and you're not supposed to be like this in week 2. It's a must win for us.
Yeah, it seems like it's a must win for you guys. And I think it means a decent amount. This is your home debut if you're Brian Daboll, if you're Joe Schoen. You want to win this football game. It's a winnable football game. I don't think the Giants will easily win this football game. I think it will be contested. And like I've mentioned throughout the podcast, there are definitely aspects of the Giants defense, specifically now without Aaron Robinson, that can be exploited by Ben McAdoo, who is going to have a chip on his shoulder. There's a lot of little storylines here with this game. But I think it means a lot because week 3, you have Dallas Cowboys Monday Night Football with no Dak Prescott. And then week 4, you have the Chicago Bears. Pretty winnable football game. And then you got to travel to London to play Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Difficult. Then you get the Baltimore Ravens in week 6. So it gets a little tough there. But then you have just like a slew of like the Lions and the Texans and the Seahawks and teams like that until the end of the year when it really stiffens up with, I think, the Eagles twice, the Commanders mixed in there, and then you got Minnesota on Christmas Eve. So honestly, I think it would mean a lot. I think it's a winnable football game. And if you want to build momentum into this season after a win that no one really anticipated against a good football team in Tennessee, then you do it at home, it favored against Baker Mayfield and the Carolina Panthers. But again, I'm not chalking that up as an easy win by any means.
Sure. Yeah, man. But you're right. When you put it in, that's the context I was thinking is like, and for us, it's the opposite of this context. Is like a loss in this case would really then make us face a different gauntlet. We got to play the Saints, then we got to play. I mean, I know nobody's scared of the Cardinals right after week 1, but I don't think they're going to be as bad as they were there. So who else we got? We got the Rams. We've got. I mean, our schedule in this, we got the Rams, the Ravens at one point. We've got just a slew
we got
of
the
teams.
Cardinals, the 49ers coming up soon.
Yeah.
Saints coming up here soon.
So in this case, you guys win this game, and it's positioning you in a great place to where you can then capitalize, continue like in where you need to. And the Panthers, like these are the games we need to win, and if we don't, it's going to be a tough road to hoe. Cody, that's all I got right here. I don't want to take too much of everybody's time. So, Nick, can you tell us where they can find your work?
Yeah, so I'm posting a lot on Twitter. It's just at Nick Falato. That's Falato. Myself and Dan Schneier of CBS, we host a podcast based on the All 22 film, The X's and O's, telling you the what, how, why, everything about the New York Giants. That's Big Blue Banter. And then you can find my written work at Big Blue View, SB Nation. And then I do some work during the draft at Sports Illustrated for Patricia Traina. That's Giants Country. So thank you so much for tuning in, everybody.
Man, fantastic stuff, man. Great stuff. Go check out that work. Good luck. Not this week, but the rest of the season.
Good luck to you guys too.
All right, my man. All right, guys, just go ahead and point this out. Look, we'd love for you to smash the thumbs up button, subscribe, be a part of the show. There's a way for you to support the show by becoming a C3 super fan. Just hit that join button, $1.99. We've grown a lot. We're on our way to 100 super fans right now. And look, is that this podcast has been growing. Thank you so much, Cody, for covering my back. I cannot wait to tell you behind the scenes what happened. But is there anything else that you just on your mind that I missed?
I mean, no. One of the biggest talks is that we continue to roll with Pat Elflein over Bozeman. Matt Rule has doubled down on that. People are upset about that. I'm pretty
He's
upset
talked about that in the pressers.
Yeah, I mean, they said they're going with Pat Elflein again.
Oh, wow.
So
interesting. I thought, didn't he come out and say that his starting five would have had Bozeman in there?
Yes, that's why, dude. None of this makes sense, dude. It doesn't make sense. And you know what? Like, it's going to be embarrassing if we're going to be talking about Matt Rule and his job security a lot in these next couple weeks, man. But before we go, shout out to the newest member of the C3 fan club, Easy Crepe. I'm not the voice that makes the noise, but welcome to the C3 Super Fan Club, brother. You know we appreciate you. Always see Easy Crepe around here too, so it's good to have him as a member of the fan.
Man, fantastic. Look, we'll be here again throughout the week. We've got the Friday free for all coming up this Friday, and it's going to be a doozy. You're going to have a lot of people coming in here with a lot of things to say. If you checked out the C3 Panthers podcast last night, there are like 40 calls. People have a lot to say about this Carolina Panthers team, this game, and this is what I think is all of a sudden we really have to follow this storyline, Cody, and this is what we're going to have to do on Debate My Take tomorrow if we can squeeze it in, and that is how much this means. This game right here, imagine losing this game, right? Not only think about this is then really how do you recover from that? Like it would be a Herculean task. At this point, you start 0-2 and you're starting to wonder, is it possible for anybody, particularly Matt Rule, to do enough to change that? You know, like what would it? I mean, it would like take like a 4-game winning streak. You know what I'm saying? Even if you just won, if you won one and then you lost the next 3, you're still looking backwards. This game means a ton. I think the person that probably with the least pressure on it is damn Baker Mayfield.
I mean, it's going to be absolutely abysmal. I mean, and think about this, Tony. The easiest part of our schedule is these first couple weeks. We have a bunch of home games. We're not on the road. I mean, we have a bunch of opportunities here with the easiest part of our schedule that we're going to see. If we keep on losing, I mean, Tony, I think that the offseason has kind of made us forget how hot Matt Rule's seat was at the end of that season. Remember, supposedly he couldn't go to a Hornets game because his family members were being beat. Yeah, man, dude, I'm telling you, the hot seat. It's gonna get right back to the temperature it was at the end of last season, very fast. We're spoiled now, man. We have to get these wins. We won't settle for anything less than a W. If not, it's an abject failure.
Yeah, I mean, you almost could see it. Man, I hate to say it, is I don't think it would really happen, but like if you lose this game, like it's done. Like Matt Rule's tenure is done. I mean, they might not fire him right away, but it almost would not even be surprising if they did. They just said, you know what, this is just not for us. Sorry, this sucks. Good gosh,
Yeah.
this isn't crazy. It's crazy. And it's not supposed to be that like that in week 2 under any circumstances. Man, thanks so much, guys, for supporting the C3 Panthers podcast. Remember, you can just sub up, like, share, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. Check out our work on Friday nights. The post game show is going to be fire this week. Is that you can't imagine how tense it is for look, and that's the thing is look at how relaxed Nick was. Relax.
Yeah.
They're playing with house money this week. They're
Yeah.
playing with house money. We're not.
He is a pretty
We're
cool cat, to be fair.
yeah, definitely. All right, Cody, take us out of here.
All right, C3 Panther Nation. Until when are we gonna see him again? Friday.
Friday.
Friday for the free for all. Keep pounding.